This is K-Wave 107.9, your home for worship and the Word. Brian Perez and Kathy Parrish behind the scenes at the 26th Annual Harvest Crusade at Angel Stadium in Anaheim. And our next guest is the Executive Director of the Harvest Crusades, Mr. John Collins. How are you, sir?
I'm well.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Hot day here in the stadium.
Yes. We're nice and cool back here. Although under these bright lights, it seems warm, but compared to being out there.
I appreciate you having us on.
We appreciate you guys. 26 years of doing the Harvest Crusade. How long have you been involved with Harvest?
Yeah, since the very beginning. Pastor Chuck Smith had come to Greg in 1989 with the idea of doing a Harvest Crusade, similar to what had happened in 1985 with the Billy Graham Crusade. And so I think that put the thought in his head, perhaps. He was seeing what the Lord was doing in Greg's Monday night Bible study at Calvary Costa Mesa and seeing 100 or more people come forward every week. And he felt like, we could reach out to the community and expand this. And so Pastor Greg came to me after a meeting with Chuck and asked me to organize it. And so that's what I've been trying to do for 26 years. So organize this.
Wow. So you've been doing a pretty good job.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely. So you're organizing. What does that involve?
Well, I mean, it begins with when we first started. We had some hurdles and some challenges in just getting a venue. The Pacific Amphitheater wasn't used to doing, something of this nature and a religious event like this. But we were able to work around the issues and able to put together, a platform and musicians that we could build a crusade around. We only had about 3 months that first year to get it off the ground. And
really?
Yeah, but
wow.
The churches really pulled together in the community, particularly the Calvary chapels, and we had 90,000 people come out over 5 nights, and some 6,500 made professions of faith in Christ. And so
amazing.
After that, we just kind of stepped back and said, "Whoa, I think the Lord could do something with this, in an even bigger platform." And of course, at the end of that 5 nights, then Pastor Chuck got up and said, "Well, next year we're going to Anaheim Stadium." And, we just about, dropped over.
Right.
But, it turned out that we've had a great relationship for 25 years with Anaheim Stadium. And we were able to forge that and through the years, continue a good relationship. And so they opened their doors to us, and we're something that has become kind of an institution in the community. The churches understand after 25 years that this is not a concert per se. They understand that this is an opportunity to bring their friends or loved ones who need to hear the gospel and need to make a commitment to Christ. That this is our opportunity every year to come to Anaheim Stadium. It's free. And to make a trip over here and see people come to faith in those 26 years now, we've seen about 320,000 professions of faith just here in this local crusade.
And the SoCal Harvest.
In the SoCal Harvest, yeah.
Yeah. So you're hard pressed to talk to anybody who doesn't know about the Harvest Crusades. Yep. I know my son is bringing a couple of people this weekend with him, and everybody's talking about how they're bringing people. Yeah. So you say that the first year you started out with 3 months time to prepare. Yeah. So how has that changed through the years? How long now does it take to prepare?
Yeah, typically if we go to that gave birth to opportunities all around the country, and so. Typically, when we go into a community, we ask. It'll take anywhere from a 2 years to a year to get everything together, and we don't normally go into stadiums outside of Southern California. It's typically into an arena. Although next year we are taking our boldest step of faith and actually going into AT&T Stadium there in Dallas, Texas.
Oh, wow.
And that seats upwards of almost 100,000 when you take standing room only. So it will be a huge endeavor. But the church is very strong in Dallas, and there are some roots that they had in the Jesus movement as well. We kind of grew out of the Jesus movement here in this community, but things were happening all over the country, and they had something called Explo 72. in 1972, where they had 100,000 people show up at the Cotton Bowl. And so our hope is that we can kind of recreate that moment in Dallas, Texas, because right now our country is in desperate need of revival,
Right.
and seeing God move in a way that will really have people take notice. And that's what was happening back then. On Time magazine there was a cover article, the Jesus Revolution, and it really grabbed the culture. And so we'd love to see something like that happen again. We can't make it happen, of course. It's God's sovereign doing a revival, but we can certainly do our best to prepare the soil and to invite that to happen. So that's what we're going to attempt to do in Dallas next year.
I like what you said about people are starting to recognize that this isn't just a concert. It's not just 3 nights of concerts. Come on out, have fun. I mean, yes, there is that aspect, but evangelism is the key. Bringing people who are unsaved, bringing friends that may have been in the church.
And we've
before.
been very intentional about building it in that way. Because look, there's a lot of concerts that go on all the time, and they're great. To have Christian concerts, it's a wonderful thing. But that was never our intention. We never we utilize the best of Christian music, but we're using it for a very specific purpose. We want people to have an interest in what's happening, and so to bring a group like tonight, we'll have Third Day, great group of guys, great music, and no one is going to be embarrassed to bring a friend to hear Third Day. They're going to want to bring them. So to kind of create that environment, and then also to be very upfront to let them know, and you're going to hear a message of the gospel, and what it means to follow Christ. And Greg very unashamedly proclaims that message, and it's a formula that's worked for 26 years now.
Yep.
And because it's the scripture says it's through the foolishness of the message preached that God has chosen to save those who would believe. So we just remain convinced that that's what needs to be happening in the church today. We just need to get that message out, and people will respond.
Yeah.
And so we're hoping that people stand up and take note of what's going on here this weekend and in March in Dallas, and hopefully we'll see that tide turn.
Over the 26 years, the growth, I can't even imagine how many people and relationships that are built just from doing what you do over this whole period of time. So each year, are you just blown away yourself at, how amazing the event is each and every year? It's grown so much that I'm sure you have.
I guess what's most amazing to me is to see how the church works. God is working through individuals. I think back to that very first year. I thought it was. I came to the Pacific Amphitheater and I looked up in the sky. And the arena was filling up, and here was a balloon up in the sky that read Jesus. They were just put together. Somebody had made that, and then a little while later, a plane came flying by with an invite, to the community to come to the Harvest Crusade, and I just looked around and said, I didn't organize that. I didn't arrange that. How did that happen?
Right.
But it was God's people doing it, which is great, and that's what happens in many instances. People inviting friends, and there's a strong relational component that's in play in these crusades. A lot of people kind of look at events like this as an event. You just hire a band, you get a preacher to come in and preach, and you promote it. But it really is working more through the church and having people pray for their friends, invite their friends, and bring their friends. That's what makes it different.
Right.
And that's what's happened over the 25 years, is that people in Southern California, they know. Over time, they've learned that this is their opportunity. So, hopefully that'll continue. Yeah.
I like what you guys have been, or the way you set it up now too, is, or maybe it's been like this all along, and maybe I've just been noticing lately, but the emphasis on bringing people with you. So it's not just telling them about it and inviting them. Hey, anybody can do that. Pick up the phone. Hey, there's something going on this weekend. Why don't you come? All right, bye. Instead, it's, I'll be there at 5:00.
Yeah.
We'll go pick up dinner. Then we'll head to the crusade. So it's about following through and saying, we're going to bring you. And then there's the other important aspect is the follow-up afterwards, discipleship, making sure that they get plugged in. And
again, it's very intentional, and so all of our resources, we create invites and posters, but the invites are designed, to hand to somebody and or to make an invitation. All of the advertising that we do, advertising is not going to necessarily bring somebody if they see a billboard or something, or if they see a newspaper ad, or they hear something on the radio. But all of that is reinforcement, so that when a Christian invites somebody, then they tend to come. And so that's the strategy. And what we've learned, and we learned this a long time ago when that very first year I went and visited with the Billy Graham folks and learned how to put together a crusade. And the thing that stuck with me was that they had learned that more than 80% of the people that made professions of faith at one of their crusades were brought by a Christian friend. Mm-hmm. Well, so there's your strategy. We don't need to do advertising to the world per se. We need to promote among the Christians, to pray for your friends and bring them. Right. And that's what creates an environment where you have a lot of people who need to hear the gospel. And that's why it's not just a concert.
Kathy mentioned earlier that you'd be hard-pressed to find people who have not heard about the Harvest Crusade. So that's how it works. And it's funny because, I have had the conversations, or I've heard the conversations where people say, why do they spend so much money on those billboards and on those bumper stickers? Right. And do they really use them all? What's the point? But you just hit it home right now. They'll see those bumper stickers on everybody's cars. They'll see the billboards on the side of the 55 freeway. And then when somebody says, hey, do you want to come to this Harvest Crusade this weekend? They'll be like, wait, I've heard of that. Right. What is that?
Yeah, it's raised the profile. It's made it something important in the community that's going on, and so people would be more inclined to come to that. It happens all the time when I invite people to come to the crusade. There's a great awareness of it today, and I gave an invite to a guy today leaving the grocery store, and he was in need of wanted some food, and so I gave him a couple of dollars and gave him an invite, and he says, "Oh yeah, I've heard of this," and he says, "My brother's a pastor, and I'm, so he I said, well, there's great music there too. He was carrying a guitar, so he's going to hopefully be here tonight."
Awesome,
there's the connection. I love the testimonies too that are on the radio program. They're amazing, and everybody can relate to just about everybody's story. Somebody somewhere can relate to it.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we're right now next door recording. There's 17 different people that came out of last year's crusade that we're recording, and we'll be using their testimonies. But the stories are amazing, and I never get tired of reading over them and hearing about them.
Sure,
and it's incredible what God does out on that field, and the lives that are put back together, people coming out of drugs, marriages that are broken and being restored. We've had, over the course of the 25 years, we've had people heading to divorce court come and get things straightened out here on the field.
Wow.
But in people setting their drugs aside, and it's pretty amazing. But look, it's not us. It's not the fact that we're doing this meeting that makes it happen. It's the power of the gospel that changes lives, and that's I guess that's over the 25 years of doing, 26 years of doing this, that stuck with me most, because I've heard Greg's, messages thousands of times, and they're always getting to, the essential ingredients of, why are we here? What is there meaning in life? And, what does it take to become a Christian? And it's not complicated, but he gets to the really point of the issue, and that is that we're sinners, and we're separated from God, and if we're able to recognize that Christ is that solution, and come to Him for that help to be made whole, then something inside of a person at that moment, just like it has for all of us, it changes.
Yeah.
And for some reason, there's a lack of confidence, I think, in the power of the message. We're not ashamed of the gospel. It's the power of God unto salvation. There's power in that.
Yeah.
I remember Pastor Greg telling me a story one time about he had a visit with Dr. Billy Graham, and he asked Mr. Graham, what would a younger Billy say to, or an older Billy say to a younger Billy, in preaching the gospel, and he said without batting an eye, he said, "I preach more on the blood and on the cross. That's where the power is."
Mm-hmm.
That really stuck with me.
Yeah.
There's power that we don't have confidence in at times,
right.
just delivering that, and that's what Greg does so well.
Mm-hmm.
He stands up there and he just delivers this simple message, and he talks about the blood of Christ and about the forgiveness of sins and about sin itself, and it resonates with people because the Holy Spirit is taking that and then converting and changing hearts. So that's the work of God, something we can't do, and we would never say that every one of these people that come down to the field are conversions. We use the term professions of faith because that's all we know that they're doing,
right?
But a conversion can happen in an instant like that, but the proof of that is really could be a lifetime of experience.
Right. Well, John Collins, thank you so much for stopping by.
Yeah, thank you.
And
Thank
we just
you.
pray that the Lord will do, we know he's going to do
Yes.
amazing things this weekend and in a few months. When's the date of Harvest America in
It's
Dallas?
Dallas, March 6th at the AT&T Stadium. Look, if you can, make plans. Come along. We're inviting people all over the country to come. Let's go to Dallas and let's fill that place up and let's make a statement
There you go.
for the gospel.
Yes.
I've never been to Texas, so maybe this will be an
what?
excuse for
Yeah.
me to go.
We've been working there over a year
You should
now,
go.
and if I had to start my family all over and do it again, I would consider that place because it's almost a throwback. Our culture has moved so far, from the gospel and from the church, but
Yeah.
but there's still the remnants of what it used to be. What America used to look like. They're changing too, but when I go back there, I kind of sense that it's not quite as far off as where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Well, you sure are right when you say we need it more than ever now,
Yeah.
this country.
Yeah, that's it.
So we look forward to that in March.
Good. Come on
Awesome.
along.
All the
We'll
best.
be there.
Okay,
Yeah.
Brian, Kathy.
All right, John, thank you so much.
You bet.
God bless
Thank
you, sir.
you, John.
God bless you.
God bless.